Hello everybody, I'm SJM. Welcome back to Star Technology. Welcome to the re-recording of my MV episode. I obviously didn't realize until I went back and looked that, I don't know, OBS took a big dump or Minecraft was in the wrong mode, like full screen, windowed borderless or something like that happened. I had to fool around with a whole bunch of stuff to figure out what went on, but I think it's working again. My mic wasn't working. I had a black screen and no overlay. All I could hear in the background were Minecraft noises. The noises of me clicking blocks or placing blocks, breaking blocks, interacting with things, the music. Strange, but at any rate, let's get down to brass tacks. So I think when we started, or where we left off last time, it was I was making that the MV circuits. So I went ahead and I made a batch of the circuit printed boards and the diodes, so that we've got that stuff. So we just need, 2 of the LV circuits in there for every MV circuit that we want to make. So that's a good thing. I just did a big batch for the phenolic printed circuit board for that silly rabbit hole. I then went ahead and spent almost all of my aluminum. I'm not going to say all of my aluminum, but I've got 16 plates left there and 25 ingots there, and I think I've used a little over a stack of aluminum so far, just making the first few bits and bobs to get into the MV tier machines that we needed. So, the first and most important thing that we needed from the MV tier was the electrolyzer, so that we can start getting some more aluminum. So, in here, this is pretty simple stuff, just the machine hull, which is a bunch of aluminum, and then silver wire. So we've got a pretty heavy tax on silver in this age, it seems like, because we needed silver for all of the phenolic printed scenic boards that we used last time. So silver's a little bit of a bottleneck right now, but we know how to get more, so it's not so bad in that regard. Then obviously to power an advanced electrolyzer, we needed an energy converter. This is just 4x signalum wire, another machine hull, which is just a bunch of aluminum really, and some wrought iron. Just note that we now need copper cables instead of tin cables like we did for the LV machines. So copper cables are the big thing that we need to moving forward, I guess. The other machines that we will need, we're going to need we'll talk about this in a minute or two. Obviously, we already know that my power is a little bit suspect. I did manage to get this guy working by unhooking this setup. It's no longer being shared with it, because just having this here even idling and not doing anything was causing this to completely run out of power. Like this would just go all the way down and would barely progress anything in the progress bar. So I unhooked that, and I now have 3 converters hooked up on this connector and just the EBF connected on this connector. So I haven't done a lot of digging into this Create New Age stuff, but I'm gonna try to get out of it, because this is just absolutely ridiculous to need this much stuff just to power a couple of LV machines. Like, even when these aren't running, it seems to be drawing power. I know I've whinged about this already, so let's get off that topic. So, what did I spend? So I made 9 MV circuits originally, and I had to make 2 more. So I've gone through 11 so far. So like I said, new power setup. Originally I was looking at the compression dynamo, which I might actually go back to because it might be easier on the resources, but we'll talk about that here in a second. So I think before I talked about the compression dynamo, and then we have the, for power sources, we've got the creosote, which we can make slowly, like very slowly, but consistently. But we would need to hook our tree farm up over here, connecting to the coke ovens, which then would produce creosote. I thought that this biodiesel was the same biodiesel that we're using downstairs, but this is the GregTech biodiesel, which is made in a chemical reactor. So seed oil and ethanol, so same ingredients that go into it, but we also need this sodium hydroxide. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole for that, but this is a different kind of biodiesel, I'm pretty sure. Maybe they're compatible, I'm not sure, but I might just make one compression dynamo and test it out, because it would be nice to keep that setup that I have down there and just replace it with a bunch of compression dynamos to produce power that way, rather than using the Create New Age stuff. I'm not sure which is going to be more efficient, but and none of these other things is really achievable right now, right? Like, we need a distillery to get this kind of stuff. And then we'd need the ingredients to put into the distillery, so I decided not to go down the compression dynamo and instead use the lapidary dynamo. The only problem with that for me right now is that making the items that we put in to fuel the lapidary, we have to process by hand for right now, right? So we have lapis, we have diamond, we have amethyst, we have emerald, and we have nether quartz. And the good thing about all of those is they all come out of the same process. So sifting sand. So at least I do have the setup here where sifting sand is not a chore anymore. Like before, I used to have to run I was making my gravel over there and then running it through this forge hammer. But now that we've got this set up here, we can always just come here, grab a bunch of stuff, and throw it in our drawer and let the sifters do their own work down there. So we have those down there. Now I've got these advanced. I'm not pulling this one out here now because I've already got 3 million in there, but we'll talk about powering these up. So the lapidary dynamo by itself produces 200 RF per tick. That's not really a lot considering what we need to produce, because the energy converter needs 2048 per tick to run at 4 amps at 128 EUs. So, with just our first couple of machines, we don't need all of that power at the start, but eventually as this expands out and we get more and more MV machines up there, that's not going to even cut it even close. So I made the buffer, which this started off originally at a 1 million FE buffer. And then to improve our machines, we've got the upgrades. So there's the LV upgrade kit, which in the quest line here is just this section after the flint mesh is down in this corner here. So getting graphite, making a basic arc furnace, which we didn't make before, but it's got a few different uses. So I didn't mind making this so much just to get to these tempered glass. Then we make the hardened glass and the LV upgrade kit, which improves our thermal machines by a factor of 4. So if I put it in here, it would have went from a 1 million buffer to 4. But the first thing I did was to improve the production in our lapidary. So we got it up to 1800 or 800. So we're landing at roughly a third of what we needed to be able to sufficiently supply our converter with. But then in the quest line, this MV upgrade kit was quite accessible, right? We just needed to make sure that we have this advanced assembler to be able to make it, because this is made in the MV assembler with a MV circuit, some electrum, which is just gold and silver, a steel gear, which we actually had to make by hand because we can't melt steel at the LV. We need an MV what's it called? We need an MV machine to melt steel. And then Signalum glass. Signalum glass came with its own caveat that we needed liquid signalum. So, you know, in the LV solidifier, we can make the glass, but to make the liquid signalum, we do need an MV extractor. So this is where all of those circuits and everything meant to making these three machines. So we've got the advanced extractor so that we could melt the signalum, so that we could make the glass for it, and then put it into the assembler with our other ingredients: steel gear, electrum plate, and circuit. And then we needed 5 pieces of liquid redstone for each of these MV upgrades. So if we apply the MV upgrade there, these don't double up. This is now doing 3200, but if I pull this one out, it's only counting the highest tier one. So I have a leftover now LV upgrade kit for something if I want. But this can now produce 3200 RF per tick, which will keep up with this quite nicely. Just the downside is it's going to eat, let's just do a few, that's going to eat the resources really, really fast. Like that's 40k for every thing that it's going through. Actually, we can just throw it all in there. Because the use on that in the lapidary, so 40,000 RF per amethyst shard goes in there, and we're storing it in the fluid cell, which of course I've got it powered up to 16 million so that we can at least run our machines a little bit while we wait for resources to be, you know, produced. So don't know that I'm gonna hook up a sifter for this specifically, because we can just, you know, have a just one single sifter running and just feeding into there, because all of the outputs from that one string sifter doing sand will get burned in there. But the only thing is when the flux cell fills up and we get this buffer filled over here, this drains itself. So you can actually burn through your resources not doing anything if we're not using these machines for a while. So I'm going to leave this on manual for now until we get a more automated setup like we have going for the Create down there. Yeah, I think got a bunch of aluminum already because I was processing some. Yeah, so we've got half a stack of aluminum backed up already again. I'm just going to run over to my little setup, grab a stack of clay. Already processed quite a bit, but just keep that in there, keep processing that, so keep getting the aluminum. And then we've got this silicon, which we're also going to need along the way. The reason that's this section here, getting this monocrystalline silicon boule, so that we can chop it up into wafers and then use for these chips to get cheaper circuits. So cheaper LV circuits and cheaper MV circuits, as well as making these chips to make energy hatches, to make MV multi-blocks to get these resources which we can then improve our EBF with the Kanthal coil blocks. We can also, once we get stainless steel, we can start making auto sieves. And this all leads us down this way towards getting into AE2. So we're almost to Applied Energistics, which is going to be nice because then we can have things auto-crafting for us and a constant supply. We just also need to go this way with the autoclave to get us some Certus quartz to go up that way. So we're close. We could taste the Applied Energistics already. But I think it's still a little far away because we've got quite a bit of processing needed before we actually get there. You really do chew through the clay really, really fast, which is good. Now, the thing is we're getting a little bit of water, which we don't need at all. Maybe later we can find a way to process it, but there is a way that we can deal with it, and that's through a fluid voiding cover. So this is not too hard in itself. We just need a bronze fluid pipe, so that's wrench, hammer, wrench. We need one of those bad boys. 2 steel screws. This is this. And this fluid detector is going to be the tricky part of this. But it is just an iron plate and a iron pressure plate, so that's not too hard. But we do need liquid soldering alloy finally. So liquid soldering alloy is something that we can use in our assembler machine to make, I think it can also go in the circuit assembler as well, can't it? Yes, we can use that instead of liquid tin. And we only need half the amount as tin, so it's good in that way. But making it itself isn't overly difficult. So tin, lead, and antimony. And so 6, 3, and 1, and that's on program circuit 3. Tin. Lead, I'm going to need to process some more blackstone. We're going to have to figure out how to get that automated. We can do it with the... what are these things called? Igneous extruder. But we need blue ice to do that, so we just have to figure out how to get blue ice. And antimony we've got lots of, so come over to the mixer and make up some of this stuff. We'll make as much as we can, that's fine. We can always use it, like I said, in the circuit assembler or in the basic assembler for other recipes as well. We needed a heavy pressure plate. We needed a regular plate. Oh, geez. Why did it make battery alloy dust? Oh, I needed circuit 3. Oh, and I just destroyed... Haha. And I just destroyed all of my lead. That'll take a while, but... we'll just keep processing. Battery alloy dust isn't the end of the world. At least I know that there is a use for it. I just don't need it at the moment. Antimony. tin. I think we need 3 lead for each of them, don't we? Yeah, we need 3 lead, so let's wait for that to work. I really do need to make a regular macerator, but I've just been kind of doing it on the cheap with my Steam setup here for forever now. Oh, I had lots in there. There we go. Circuit 3, yes. So that we make the right stuff this time. This is done in the assembler. Do you have anything in there? Nope. Oh. There we go. I only need 1 for now, I guess. Going to end up over here. I have it automatically exporting. What temperature? 544, so we need at least a... Okay. Weirded out on me there for a minute. There. Oops. Screwdriver, wrench. I don't know, let's put her on the front, I guess. If we go to here, choose the front. Turn that on. No more water. It's all gone. And now we have lots and lots and lots of aluminum. So I guess we'll wrap this one up here. A little bit shorter episode this time around. The original recording obviously was longer because we talked about this and set it all up. But in the re-record, it was already all set up, and it just had to do a little bit of talking and quicker explaining. Just remember when you're putting down your energy converters to smack them with your soft wooden mallet, because they intrinsically start with the input on the EU side instead of the RF side. So you just have to make sure you've got these 4 bars there so that we're pulling the EU or the RF and turning it into EU instead of the other way around. Grab half our emeralds, we may as well. That's 125,000 RF every time that processes, so that upgrade is pretty good. The only other thing in this pack, they did... I can't see them there so good, but they have removed a lot of the augments for the thermal machines. So there's other augments that we could put into the dynamos that would increase their the amount of power, but they've all been removed or are just completely uncraftable. Like, there's no crafting recipes for any of these other augments. So that's a thing. But with these working the way that they're working, I'm not going to complain too much about it. So we're up to 6 million in there already. And you need more clay dust. Yeah, we'll keep that processing over there. And then next time we'll come back, we'll start working down this way. Oh yes, so now that we have the MV assembler, we do have access to getting iron mesh, because this requires the MV tier. So with a flint mesh and some wrought iron foils, we get iron meshes, which we can then use sifting to get things like beryllium, cobalt, chromite. So we're going to need, I know we need chromium in places. This is an easier way to get cobalt than what we currently have, so that's good there. That's doing crushed blackstone. So this is the other reason I wanted to get blackstone up and going, not just for the lead. Got a bunch more gemstone stuff down here, which I don't know what that's for just yet. And in here we've got pyrochlor, lepidite, pyrolusite, and the important one, which is the vanadium magnetite ore. Because to get to the advanced cutter, we need vanadium steel, and vanadium steel, as the name implies, needs vanadium, which comes from that vanadium magnetite. So we do have to do this iron mesh first and start processing materials through it to get this stuff done to be able to go on to the rest of this section there. So I think that's for the next episode, as we'll talk about these, because this process is 450 seconds. Using the silicon dust that we're getting from electrolyzing the clay, plus some more of this gallium arsenide we used from the last episode. And, 10 minutes later, not quite 10 minutes, but you know what I mean, we get a silicon boule from there. That's for next time. I think I've rambled on enough for this episode as we watch the sun set in our pretty... Oh, I just realized as well, because there's been a couple of little updates recently. Yeah, that is still in there. That didn't change, but my shader pack got turned off. Now we have a pretty sunset to look at as we outro this episode. As always, I appreciate you all for checking it out, and can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!